what are the most intriguing college football playoff hypotheticals that we could be seeing in this year's version of the college football playoff? There's a lot of them, man. And the way that I broke this down, I'll be honest, man, we went heavy on storyline. College football sickos, our time is now. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. It is no hot takes. It is all ball. It is everything that you want to talk about when it comes to this beautiful sport, the best sport on the face of the planet, every single day on the On3 YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate y'all being locked in. Let's have an amazing college football season. And there may not be a game that has bigger storylines around it, if we get it, than LSU going to Notre Dame. Now, that'd be massive on a number of levels for what it would mean happened during the 2024 season. First, it would mean that Riley Leonard, the transfer quarterback from Duke to Notre Dame, was a hit and a half. And I've been very vocal. I like Riley Leonard. I am a little bit concerned about his consistency. Now, if they make it to the college football playoff, it means he balled the heck out. And if they host a playoff game, that's the key caveat here. If Notre Dame hosts a playoff game, that means they likely went either 11-1 to 12-0. 10-2, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you feel a lot better about this game happening in South Bend if you have that kind of record if you're Notre Dame. Now, if LSU ends up in the college football playoff, man, it means they fixed that defense. It means Brian Kelly looked at that defensive staff, said, nope, not good enough. Blake Baker, get in here. Bo Davis, get in here. And those individuals were able to maximize the personnel in-house in Baton Rouge. Because we've said it before, there's still some good players in Baton Rouge now, regardless of what those numbers would tell you or lead you to believe from last year's squad. Still some good players, man. Harold Perkins, we've seen what he can be when he takes over games. You saw his freshman season. Haven't seen it enough since then, but I think you see a change in that this year. That would obviously be a factor in LSU making the college football playoff. Probably puts them at that 10-2 mark if we get this kind of game. Now, the storylines here are just, creme de la creme. The obvious one, you got Brian Kelly's return to South Bend. It's no secret. It was one of the most well-publicized breakups in college football, right up there with Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. Like, when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, there was no love lost. There was no farewell tour. There was no, man, thank you for everything. It was like, see ya. Get out of here. There was also some objection to the timing of it all because some folks felt like, well, hey, Notre Dame, they could still maybe find their way into the college football playoff. I think that's a bit overblown, but can you just imagine for a second Brian Kelly running out there in South Bend for a playoff game? The way that fan base would receive him, or wouldn't receive him, rather. Also, the fact that we would have two of the premier brands in this sport that are both starving to get back to the top of the mountain of the college football world. Notre Dame, man, they don't play in a conference. Like, they judge their success by national championships. And so to get in the college football playoff and to get a win in the college football playoff over an SEC opponent, over their former head coach, like, that'd be something else. I'll just say that right now. Also, you zoom out even further. Like, these are two coaches now between Marcus Freeman and Brian Kelly going into their third year. Year three, your third year on the job anywhere is a show me year. Show me what we're getting here. Show me what we've invested all this time, all these resources. Show me what we are going to eventually get from you here. There's no more excuses for, oh, well, we're still building it. We're still finding our footing. No, at this point in the game, you have had enough time to sign your name off next to every single part of this football team, regardless of how you slice it. Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly, I think have both done a great job, but a first-round exit for either of those guys would be unacceptable. So, man, full transparency, I hope we get this game for the reasons I just mentioned, and it'd be unbelievable. The week leading up to that would be unbelievable. Here's another a fun playoff hypothetical we could get. And full transparency, for those of y'all that have watched this show for the last the last week, as we did our prediction finale last week, gave you our national championship pick, Oregon and Georgia. This is our national championship game. Now, I'm cool if we get this any other time throughout the college football playoff. If it happens in Atlanta, that would be very poetic because that was when these two teams played last to start the 2022 season, I believe it was. This would be a callback to that first game that they played. Again, whether it's in Atlanta or whether it's in Athens, whatever. Oregon and Georgia would be a callback to Dan Lanning's first game as the head coach at Oregon. And now, if you remember correctly, Georgia absolutely just thwacked Oregon. I mean, it wasn't even close. The Dan Lanning era in Eugene got off to a very, very bumpy start. Very, very unkind awakening. Bo Nix went out there. He threw multiple interceptions. Oregon was just outmatched in every single facet of the game. And after that game, Kirby Smart took the podium and told everybody and their mama, he's like, listen, man, Dan Lanning would never tell you this, but we won this game today because we had better players than them. He wasn't talking trash. He was just stating a fact. Now, you fast forward the tape, I think Oregon has closed that gap substantially. I don't know if they're on par with Georgia from a roster talent perspective just yet, but they have definitely done all they can and then some to be in the neighborhood of where Georgia is right now. And so if Oregon's able to be in this game, this is a chance now for Dan Lanning to cement himself as one of those guys in the college football space. Because we talk a lot about him being like the future of the sport and him being the next Kirby and all those things. You want to warrant that kind of praise, you want to warrant that kind of notoriety, you go beat Kirby, you go beat Georgia. And to the same token now, for Kirby Smart, man, we talk a lot about him being the next Saban and him being, one of the Mount Rushmore kind of guys in the sport. You know how you do that? You go win a third national championship. So whether this game is for the national title or not, it would definitely be on the path to a national championship appearance at the very least. Kirby Smart's got 2 national titles. Winning a third, I think, changes the conversation around him. Because 2 is great. I mean, a lot of coaches, man, golly, would do unspeakable things to win 1 national championship. If Kirby Smart wins a third, he enters that conversation with a Barry Switzer, an Urban Meyer, a Darrell Royal, like very, very hallowed names in the college football head coaching space. So I'm not telling you this game would be for the national championship, although that is our prediction. If we just got this game in the college football playoff period, you got former coaches going against, former coaching staff members. Dan Lanning used to coach for Kirby Smart, bottom line. And they were also both from the Saban tree. That would be phenomenal. That'd be chef's kiss. We would love to see that. That would also, I think, say a lot about the way that Oregon has progressed since Dan Lanning has gotten to Eugene. Here's one that I'm really excited about if we were to get it, and I think it's very possible that we do. What if you got Ole Miss and Clemson in the college football playoff? This would be a true test of 2 different ways that they choose to skin their respective cats. Now, I'd love for this game to be at Clemson, purely because we got to go to Clemson last year, and that atmosphere for a noon kick against Florida State was absolutely on fire. This means if Clemson makes the college football playoff, they got the offense right. People like me questioning Cade Klubnik, questioning Garrett Riley, and then they get a whole year under their belt from last year and progress into year 2, and they get it right. They have the offensive skill players to make it happen. Bada bing, bada boom, we're rolling. That in itself, I think, would speaks volumes to the way that Dabo Swinney has recruited and the way that they've done things internally there. Now, for Ole Miss, if they make the college football playoff, and we've been very transparent, we feel great about Ole Miss going into 2024, it means the defensive acquisitions they made via the transfer portal paid off big time. Paid off exactly how they drew it up. Walter Nolan from A&M, Princely Umanmielen from Florida. I mean, they hit how they were supposed to, and Ole Miss is now one of those big boys in the college football landscape. Not just a big boy in the sense, well, yeah, they'll contend. Yeah, they'll be in the conversation. Like, no, they're in the college football playoff, and you got to deal with them. You would obviously be a big fan of that if you are in Oxford. But going back to what I said at the top of this thing, man, the different ways these programs operate, they could not be more night and day. Like, Clemson pretty much doesn't even look at the transfer portal except for a couple of exceptions. Ole Miss has taken 65 transfers in the last 3 years. 65. So I think the result of this game, whether it's fair or not, would kind of be our definition of both these teams moving forward. Like, if Clemson is able to beat Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, who's been the portal king more or less the last couple of seasons, you say, well, I guess Dabo Swinney's way works. Maybe Dabo Swinney and his whole deal with we're going to build it internally, we're going to recruit our guys and just kind of develop them from there. Maybe there is more salt to that than we have maybe given him credit for over the course of the last couple of seasons. But if Ole Miss wins, you say, okay, well, now you can portal your way to the tier 1 of the college football world. And honestly, I think it would reflect even more poorly on Clemson, saying you got passed by a team who has leaned on the portal because you have chosen to not use the portal. So there would be a lot of talking points coming out of that game based on the result, but the juice from that one would be, no pun intended for Lane Kiffin's dog, the juice from that one would be exceptional. Now here's one more for you. Alabama at Florida State. Think back to last year's Selection Sunday, and y'all already know where I'm going with this. Florida State, undefeated, ACC champion, assuming they've done everything they need to get into the college football playoff. Alabama just beat Georgia the night before, and we were in Atlanta, and I was feeling perplexed going into that game, or going into, that Selection Sunday, coming out of that game, because I had just seen Alabama with my own two eyes beat who I believe was the best team in college football in Georgia. And I'm like, listen, man, I don't know how you draw it up. I don't know how it makes sense on paper, but Alabama's one of the best 4 teams. At the same time, you're like, well, Florida State, man, they've done everything they can. They've done everything they've been asked to do when it comes to qualifying for that college football playoff. So what do? Florida State, man, they still have a bitter taste in their mouth from missing the college football playoff. They still feel some type of way, and they should. I would if I were a part of that team. I'm not commenting on what was right or what was wrong. We've already done that a fair amount. But I think if you get this game, you're able to at least have some sort of closure on last year's issue. Now, if Kalen DeBoer makes the college football playoff with Alabama year 1, I think you already check the box for yourself and say, okay, great. Optics are stable. Alabama's going to continue to be Alabama. Kalen DeBoer is going to be fine. If Florida State makes the college football playoff, similarly, you're saying Mike Norvell's that guy. Mike Norvell has been that guy, but to do it with the 83rd returning production unit in the country out of 134 teams, with all that you lost last year, and you just boss up and keep the main thing, keep it moving forward, like, obviously, that would do a lot to have no hitch. It would be tremendous for Mike Norvell, okay? But this game itself, be personal. It would be very, very personal. And I said this before, but if we got Alabama at Florida State, like this game is played in Tallahassee, that place would be, that place would be going to the moon. It would be one of those atmospheres that I think you could probably only try and describe if you had been there, because your broadcast copy, your camera, your Skycam, whatever, it would be vibrating. It'd be shaking. I would love to see that game. I get that it's not last year's squad at Alabama. It's not the same, pound for pound operation at Florida State either, but just to have those two fan bases going at each other leading into the college football playoff would be a thing of beauty. So those to me are very, very, very real potential college football playoff hypotheticals. We actually have both Georgia and Oregon and Alabama at Florida State meeting up in the college football playoff. So no matter how you slice it, man, playoff hypotheticals, I don't think it's ever too early for us to just take a peek at what that could look like. And college football season, again, it's here. So let's lock in, man. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.